could have been looking at an entirely different cross table, singing a completely different tune, singing the praises of completely different players. That takes nothing away from Anish Giri's performance. It just shows that everything comes down to the details.
They do indeed. And Arjun Erigaisi, he handed the U.S. team some suffering in this past Olympiad. He beat Leonard Dominguez in the final round, and Leonard was having a great tournament. So I was there firsthand to watch Arjun's excellence. He also won the Abu Dhabi festival, the Masters tournament.
That was
there.
Amazing.
He went, I think, 7 or 7.5 out of 9, and he just was dominating an impressive field. He beat Wang Hao. I remember that game. So I feel like he's on the cusp of something, and he's shown that he is a 2,700 plus player. It's just so difficult to play this level of opposition. 13 rounds against players where you lose a game in a Swiss tournament, you get a lighter pairing. You lose a game here, and your next opponent is Magnus Carlsen. That's just pain adding on top, it's adding insult to injury almost. So I feel for the guy. He's so strong. He's so likable. He is an absolute legend. He signed a huge sponsorship deal in India, and he is about probably one move away from resigning in this one. And Magnus Carlsen is going to take this final game here at the Tata Steel Chess Masters.
He is indeed. There are many ways, every road leads to Oslo here. And the queen, I think, is going to slide back to d3 with a devastating check. In the event that white's queen blocks, I think the queen will slide to its final destination on a3. If the king moves away, that bishop from f3 could jump into d1. Literally, if you lift a piece and drop it on a square, the likelihood is, Robert, that move will indeed lead to checkmate, and Magnus is not going to keep Arjun Erigaisi struggling too much longer. A check on d3 has been delivered, and resignation will happen any second now.
And with that win, Magnus Carlsen will go into a share of second place. There are no tiebreaker matches for second place. He will tie with Nodirbek Abdusattorov, who beat him head-to-head. So for Magnus, a good end to what has been an event to forget. And look at that. It's a handshake. It's a victory. And I do feel for Arjun Erigaisi. I mean, such a good player, such an excellent person. He's won the Junior Speed Chess Championship ahead of Nihal Sarin. And the players, they're talking about this game. The tournament is over. It's been a long time, and yet they still want to talk about chess.
And I just have to commend, the sort of state of chess in India. There's a huge chess boom going on. We've obviously named the big names so many times, from Nihal Sarin to the two competitors in this tournament, Gukesh and Erigaisi, but also just the class with which they handle themselves. It's not just the moves they make on the board. I have noticed that after every one of his losses, Arjun Erigaisi has remained at the board, calmly discussing his mistakes with his opponents. And I know that may seem like a small thing, but that right there, I think, is the hallmark of a future champion. Arjun handles himself like a professional. He cares about the truth. He cares about improving. And he understands that these 20 points he loses in this tournament, yes, very painful. Yes, he's going to come back to his hotel room and he ain't going to be happy tonight, but he's going to move on from this. He's going to learn from his mistakes. And this is not his last game. Far from his last game against the world champion.
And I believe Fabiano Caruana said on the C-Squared podcast, when talking about these teenagers, the kind of next generation who has the chance to reach 2,800, I believe that Fabiano singled out Arjun Erigaisi. He said that he sees it in him, that he is capable in all facets of the game. He's great at quick chess. He's great, of course, in classical chess. And just the way he is able to put a stranglehold on certain positions, but then also open up with devastating tactics. Arjun Erigaisi is a beast. He just was in a tournament full of bigger beasts at the moment. So it's just a next tournament, it could be completely different. Abdusattorov and Arjun could switch places, but it just wasn't his event this time around. We look forward to seeing him back in the tournaments, but we do have to talk about what happened besides